It's Friday, and it can only mean one thing. It's time for the Movie Pope Show. And here are your hosts, Lee Suchek and Luca Suon. And now, let's make some noise for the gruesome twosome, the pedantic pair, Lee and Luca.
Hello and welcome back to the Movie Pope podcast. And today we are going to be taking a look at Avatar: Fire and Ash, the third installment of the Avatar series. And frankly, I'm not quite sure what to make of it. But before we dive in, remember to like, comment, subscribe. I mean, we're growing our audience, so if you can hit the like and subscribe button, it'd be great. And engage with us in the comments section below, because the Movie Pope is always watching. Because I mean, he's a movie pope. What else is he gonna do?
Am I Santa Claus now? What's going on here?
You both wear red robes, so I mean, it's kind of appropriate.
That's a good point.
So, Lee, when we did our review of Tron a few weeks ago, we both said that in terms of the original, we couldn't really wrap our minds around what made this movie so great, apart from it being a technological innovation. So back in 1984, people who went and saw this movie were probably blown away and thought, wow, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And at that time, we made the comparison to Avatar, the first movie, when it came out, because in terms of story, it really wasn't pushing the needle, but it was a visually stunning movie.
Oh, yes.
It was an achievement in I was going to say AI, in computer generated graphics and animation at that time. You flash forward to 2025, where the third installment of the movie came out, and not to sound like a broken record like we do with Tron Ares, but at that point, there really isn't anything innovative about it at that point, because whereas with the first movie, it took digital filmmaking to the next step. Here, it's just another bump in the road. It's not doing anything that we haven't seen before. And especially in this movie here, Fire and Ash, it's pretty much an extension of the first movie, where they took the script and repackaged it a bit. And instead of making a mineral the object of humanity's lust for material wealth, it's now space whales.
Yeah.
So,
which, I mean, that was it for the second one too, right? Or do I not remember the second one at all?
the second one was one of those films where it's forgettable. It's kind of like Glass Onion for me.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember anything. That I could have swore there was something about whales in the second one, but that's fine. Whatever, we'll roll with it.
So in watching this movie, I kept thinking to myself, there are so many plot threads, rolling around in this movie, right?
Yeah,
I started to follow one. I lost track of that one, so I picked up on the other plot thread. Try following that one, lost track of that one, and it just soon became a huge clusterfuck where I just said, I can't keep track of this anymore. I think I think that's the trap you fall into with Avatar, is if you try to follow all these plot threads, you're going to lose count and you're going to lose your mind. So the whole point is to just focus on the visuals, because that's all you really care about. And if you think about it, for 3 hours and 17 minutes, you're getting your money's worth, because you are seeing a lot of visually rich stuff. But in terms of story,
amazing, right?
Yeah.
Amazing visuals. But yeah, you're right. Like everything has like a little plot thread that keeps pulling at. It's like, oh, no, Notiri, she's like kind of racist now. Kiri, right, the daughter, she's like a god or something. Quaritch is like trying to, I don't know, save his humanity. The relationship between Sully and like the oldest son that's still alive, like, he blames him for the oldest son's death or something. Like, there's so many of these little plot threads that keep happening throughout. I'm like, this is a lot for this type of film, which has not exactly been a pinnacle of storytelling.
And it's actually and it's pretty dissatisfying too, because because if you invest in these characters and you go to the point of trying to make us either root for them or boo at them or whatever, you do want to see some sort of denouement, some sort of conclusion to where we get that catharsis of, yes, we feel great that this has finally happened. But I never got that. I was just thinking in the back of my mind, James Cameron is taking us down, memory lane of all the movies he's made in the past, and we'll dive into it as we get into the film. But Lee, why don't you go ahead and take us into Avatar: Fire and Ash and see if you could parse what's going on here, because I sure as hell can't.
Okay, I'm gonna try my best, right? Because as soon as the movie started off, right, you just see like Jake Sully and his family, they're grieving, right? And I was thinking to myself, like, I mean, I guess a lot of bad things happened at the end of the second film, but I'm like, why do they like seem to care so much? And I had to go back and look and be like, oh, wait a minute. There was an older son, right? And I'm going to check the notes really quickly. His name was Nettie Yam, right? So Nettie Yam, he died in the end of the last one. Did you remember that at all?
I mean, they have so many kids, you lose track of them, dude. They're like an Irish Catholic family, for God's sakes.
Yeah, they got like 5, right? Or like, well, one of them's kind of adopt. I don't know. This it's hard to know. I don't know which ones are actually theirs versus.
I know Carrie.
Yeah,
I know Carrie stands out because she sounds like an old lady. Like,
oh, that's true. Yeah,
imagine having a kid who sounds like an old lady, dude.
That's true. That's true. But yeah. So the film opens up, right? And if you forgot, like I did, and it seems like Luca probably did, their oldest son was killed, at the end of the second one, which, I guess in retrospect, I don't remember how it happened, but, that takes some guts, right, to kill off, a kid character, right? So I guess that's something. But, they're grieving him and everything like that. And, as they're kind of existing, right? So you have the character Spider, right? So that's Horwich's human son, right, that they met in the second film. So he is, there living among them. But obviously because he's human, he can't, breathe in the atmosphere, right? So, there's only so many of those weird face masks that you could get before, he's gonna evenally run out, right?
Well, how long has he been living there? Because it seems like they had
I have no idea.
That sounds like because it seems like they had like a pretty generous stockpile of those masks lying around.
Yeah, I'm guessing because you do see at one stage, right, that he's like going down. He goes down to the ship and he's like recovering like weapons and stuff. So I can at least assume that there's probably a whole bunch of these things in like some of the ships they destroyed. So I'll give them at least a little bit of leeway with that. Like, sure, you scavenge these things out. I can deal with that, right? So the news, right? So they're gonna take Spider. And they want to give him back to like the scientists that show up every 10 minutes of these films, right? They want to give them back to those people, so he's with his quote unquote kind, right? The sky people or the pink skin or whatever derogatory term we want to utilize. So, but the family as a whole, well, let me say this: the younger kids, right, are not thrilled that they're gonna toss Spider, right? He's kind of become a member of the family, right? So they're not a fan of this decision. So they end up deciding, you know what? Sully and Natiri, right? They're all on board with this, right? Natiri pretty much just hates Spider, right? In this film, which I can't really blame her a whole lot, right? Because Quaritch is kind of a douchebag. And, obviously he's kind of the reason that, her homeland's gone and the father got killed and all that other nonsense. So, I kind of understand that, but pretty much Sully and Natiri want to, kind of get rid of him for various reasons. But the kids are like, no, this is not good. We want to keep Spider around. So they decide as a family, hey, why don't we go ahead and let's just drop off Spider. We'll do it as a family, right? We're going to do it as a group, right? This is the last, I guess, family outing to get him somewhere. So they go in these like, I don't know, really weird like airship type of things, which actually look a really cool design, right? I will give them that. Cool design for those things. However, during this trip, another group of Na'vi, right? And I'm going to try to pronounce this, the Mangwakan. They're ash people, right? And we're just going to call them the ash people throughout this, or the fire people. I don't know what I'm going to call them. They're going to be the ash people, right? So the ash people attack. And as I see the ash people come in, right, the whole thing that goes into my mind is, can they really not like diversify the Na'vi a little bit more, right? Like the Na'vi all pretty much look the same, minus some like minor skin tone looking difference, right? They pretty much all look the same. They're like built the same, right? Like, why can't there be like little pygmy Na'vi, right? Where the hell are those? Or where's like the big old fat Na'vi, right? Where are the ones that have wings? Like, why is there so little diversity in these groups where they're going out into all these different places, but they all look the same. Like, did that bother you like it bothered me? I just wish if you're gonna have a third film, can you just like at least make things look a little bit different? Because when they start fighting, I can't tell the difference between one group and the other.
So what you're advocating for like body positivity with the Navi?
Yes, give me the fat ass Navi, right? I want to see them. I want to see those big old chungus Navi out there, right? Or like I said, what about little miniature Navi, right? Those are still toys. Kids love like little things, right? You just have like little pygmy Navi things that are running around, right? Like just anything that would help me differentiate these two other than just looking at the color of their skin, right? That's literally how I have to do that. Because it's like, okay, the OG, the original Navi, they're dark blue. And then you have like the Water Tribe Navi. Those are like kind of like a turquoise color, right? And then we have the Ash, which I can't really tell if they're just blue and they have like a bunch of paint on them or what, right? I know they have ash on them because, of course, that's what they call the Ash people. But I couldn't quite figure that out. But you know what? Hey, you know what? I guess yes. I'm suggesting some positive. I want to see some different stuff for my Navi, right? Give me something a little bit different.
So you basically just want to see a bunch of like, obese Navi rolling around on scooters.
Sure.
Is that it?
Hey, at least it's different. At least I could be like, you know what? Oh, it's a fat Navi, right? I know that that's a fat from the Fat Clan, right? Or like I said, they got the little miniature Navi. I know they're like the little dwarf Navi, right?
Well, I'm sorry, but what use can I'm sorry, what use could a fat Navi be, in a fight scene?
It doesn't have to be useful, right? It just has to be different. So we as an audience can see the difference, right? Because when everything collides, they just all you don't even know. And they even make a joke of it later on, right? Because you see like Porridge has like the troops there. And even, Sully's like, well, you know what? If we all start fighting, they can't differentiate us. And I'm like, holy shit, he's speaking for the audience because he's right. I can't tell the difference. But yeah, so the Ash people who are covered in ash, that's how you can tell that they're different, even though they're all the same, slender Navi looking models. But they show up, right? And this causes like, all of our little groups to kind of get separated, right? So you have really kind of a bunch of different parties that kind of get separated. So you have the kid team, right? They're kind of separated from the parents. Natiri, she gets injured and she's kind of like out of the fray for a little bit. And then you have Jake, who's still there, and he's like searching for the kids, right? And as Jake is searching through kind of the wreckage of everything, guess who shows up? Fucking Quaritch, right? And I mean, he's alive, right? You did see him earlier, but my God, once again, right? You can't make anything different for the Na'vi. Why reuse the same villain over and over again, right? Like, what movie can you think of where you dealt with the villain the first time that the villain became better in other iterations? When does that ever happen?
RoboCop 2?
Oh, shit. That's a good one. Okay. Outside of RoboCop 2, right? Normally, right? Okay, let's say this. Like, normally speaking, right? You can't just reuse the same villain over and over again, right? Because it's boring, right? And you defeat him the first time, right? And he shows up the second time. Guess what? It makes his death the first time meaningless, right? You're almost like hurting your older films, right? By having this character completely show up, right? And for Quaritch to show up, nothing made sense, right? Everything that he did made zero sense to me, right? So Quaritch shows up, right? He captures Sully, right? And then we have this like whole bunch of just random shit that happens, right? So I just called this like the random shit section of the film because you have Spider, right? Who's running out of air again, right? I don't know about you, right? If I like live in an environment where literally the environment will kill me, I'm gonna always have like spare mask, right? If I go scuba diving, I'm gonna have a spare tank, right? I think that's just common sense, right? You're gonna bring something, but Spider, he always just forgets to bring a spare mask, right? So now he's dying, right? So Kiri, right? She can like summon the power of God, Awa. And Awa's just like, hey, I'm just going to make Spider breathe now, right? So now Spider's able to breathe with the help of God, right? Now,
Well, to be fair, I mean they threw him on some mushroom patch, and some fungus got inside his body. And
there we go. Yes, thank you.
Now he can breathe.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. So it wasn't the power of God, right? It was funguses that gave him the ability to breathe in that environment.
They spent a good chunk of the movie where the RDA were trying to capture him because they wanted to see how he could breathe. I mean,
that's true. That's very true, right? And honestly, like, we live in a world where there's like, whales, and you could like suck some serum out of them and it makes you live longer. So hey, you know what? Magical streams to help you breathe in the environment, why not, right? I could take that, sure. So so the kid team, right? They get all captured by the Ash people, right? So they're captured by the Ash people, and then what happens? Well, now Quaritch and Sully, who are now kind of working together, right? Because they're trying to help protect the family, or Quaritch is more trying to help like find Spider. So they show up, right? They attack the Ash people, right? And they're able to capture the leader, right? So now it's like, okay, good. Now Team Sully is now winning, right? And then immediately afterwards, right, within like a few seconds, Quaritch gets overpowered, and then it's like, oh, now the Ash team, now they're winning again, right? So now we just like flip flop back and forth, and this part absolutely drove me crazy, right? Because the Ash people, right, they don't know about weapons at this stage, right? Or they've seen weapons in action, but they don't know how they work, right? So Quaritch is like, oh, I'm a prisoner of you, but let me show you how to use this weapon so you can more effectively kill us. And I was just like, is this man dumb? Like, when he became a Na'vi, or when he got his little avatar, did he just become stupid? Like, what is he trying to do with this character? Because he shows them that, and then he just becomes a prisoner again.
I mean, my thing is when Varang asked him, "Show me how this weapon works," he's like, "Yeah, give me the gun," and he turns around and he shoots her. I'm like,
exactly, right? That's what a normal, sensible person would be. You're not gonna be like, "Oh, cool, yeah, let me show you how to use this gun," and then just doesn't do anything with it, right?
Later on, like, she introduces him to Space Peyote, and I guess they become lovers. Or
oh yes, the Space Peyote is great, right? I like that. Let's remember that later when we talk about Space Peyote.
Basically, if you think about it, he basically had the Aaron Rodgers experience. I mean,
oh my god. So, but so they're all prisoners, but then once again, Kiri, because she's like literally a god, she can communicate with stuff, and they're able to break free, right? So all in all, it's just a whole bunch of like random shit happening, and it just.
So here's my confusion. So does every kid have some sort of special ability, with the exception of Spider? Because apparently Kiri can touch the earth and make the earth do things, and then the other kid can talk to whales or something, and then the whales.
I think they can all talk to whales. I think they can all talk to whales.
Well, I don't know. I don't see Kiri talking to whales. I see her like going off into the caves and doing her own thing.
I don't know. Maybe she's not a whale whisperer, right? But I don't know. I know that Kiri's, at least, she's like, I don't know. One, we know that she's, Sigourney Weaver's character, right? That I guess just kind of happened. And then she's also like maybe a god. I don't know, right? She has some connection with Awa, which they don't really explain. And I don't know. She's anywhere between like, doesn't really do anything to being like the most powerful being on the planet, right? So
yeah, she reminded me of the main character from Alien Earth, where she gets her mind transferred into her body, but then she has like the special ability to talk to the xenomorphs that none of the other kids can have.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I like that. That's an oddly spot on comparison from these two films. But yes, that's right. So, but yeah, so luckily, eventually Team Sully, right, they're able to escape from the Ash people with Quaritch, and they all go to safety. Hey, congratulations, right? So now that Spider has his I guess new set of lungs, right, that can now breathe in the environment thanks to him sleeping on some mushrooms, as you pointed out. Now he's able to breathe. So they take him up to like those group of human scientists that I feel show up for like 5 minutes in each of these films, right? They don't want us to forget about them, so they just pop up. And they're there, and they're like, showing off, oh look, we need to figure out how Spider's able to breathe now. And they figure that out, right? While that's happening, there's like a council of whales going on. Don't even worry about it. I felt I had to put that in there because that ends up being a huge plot point at the end. But just know that there's a council of whales that are meeting together. Okay? Don't forget about the whales. All right? So, Quaritch, right? He decides, like, hey, I need to, find Spider and I want to find Sully. So what's the most sensible thing I could do? Well, I'm going to go make an alliance with the Ash people. And I was just like, why? Why do you want to make an alliance with the Ash people? Didn't they just try to murder you a second ago? Like, what makes you think that this group of people is going to actually do anything for you, right?
He kind of had a lockjaw moment if you think about it. That moment where they kind of touched, I guess, hair or whatever. I guess that was kind of like what Lockjaw experienced at the beginning of One Battle After Another. That was his pitching a tent moment. If you think about it,
that was his. Oh my god. I kind of hate you for making that comparison. Just know that, right? Because I did not want to have to think of that movie.
If you think about it, it's kind of spot on.
You are correct though, right? You are right? That was his moment. He's like, you know what? I feel some sort of thing now for, Elise Varang, right? Who's the leader of the Ash people. He's like, he's all about that, right? So he, so they kind of seal the deal on this alliance, right? Because Quaritch brings a whole bunch of weapons, and Varang, gives them some peyote, and they bang, right? They literally have sex, right? It's heavily implied that they bang right there, right? So that's how they seal the deal, right? So now we have Quaritch is now, formed this alliance with the Ash people, and they're gonna go up there and they need to find where everyone is, right? So you kind of get this like little montage of them going out to other like areas trying to find them, and eventually they're able to, capture Spider, right? And they're able to capture Sully, right? With the agreement that, they're not going to harm the other Na'vi, which they do, right? So I have to give Quaritch a little bit of credit, right? He had an opportunity to be a huge douchebag, but he, brings just the two of them, right? Spider and Sully, back to their human base, right? And I once again, right? I could not understand what Quaritch and Spider's relationship is supposed to be, right? I know the story tells me that they are father and son, right? But I can't for the life of me figure out in the film what they're trying to get across, right? Because Quaritch keeps trying to, like, I don't know, try to, like, have a relationship with them, right? As a father and son. But then, like, Spider pretty much hates him the whole time, and I don't see that changing. Could you make heads or tails over what Quaritch was trying to accomplish in this whole film? Because the whole time he was trying to be like with Spider, I could never figure it out. Because sometimes he was nice to him, sometimes he was an asshole to him. I honestly did not know what his character motivation was the whole time.
See, I thought he was going after Spider because they were trying to figure out how he could breathe on that.
Yeah, that was a part of it, right? That was absolutely part of it. You're right.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I thought he was just trying to keep going after him because of that. I wasn't sure Spider was aware that Quaritch was his dad at all. I mean,
so he knows, right? Because when they meet together, right, at the human base, right, he brings them a cheeseburger, like he knows what the shit that's gonna be, right? And he's like sitting there and he kind of like talks about that. It talks about his mom, right? Which I don't remember the mom in the first one or whenever it happened, right? I'm wondering if that was just like retconned at some stage. But he was had this relationship and had Spider. So I think Spider is aware that there's this connection. But to your point, right? Yes, they do want to have Spider to figure out why he's breathing. But I always kind of got the implication that Quaritch was, I don't know, trying to have this kind of bond with his son. But it just never really, I think, in the movie made any sense why. But I felt like that was what was happening.
It's kind of fun. It's kind of funny because in the first movie, Sully, he develops a bond with the Na'vi people, right?
Mhm.
So much so he becomes a part of him at the end. I'm wondering if Quaritch is starting to go down the same path that Sully went down, where he's starting to become more enculturated with the Na'vi, just like Sully, right?
That's very true, right? And Sully constantly pushes that, right? Because he's always like, I see you, and you should understand these people better and everything. So it definitely makes sense that that's the path they want to go. Because
the general even calls him out and says, "Hey, like, what are you doing with these savages? Like, they're of no use to us." And to Quaritch's credit, like, he actually like stands up for them and makes the point that, hey, they can be useful. I mean, however selfish it may be, he does stand up and just says, hey, they can be of use to us for whatever campaign we've got planned later on.
Yeah, that's true, right? So even if his maybe motives are not super pure, right? He does at least have their backs in a weird kind of way, right? Or he's just enjoying the piece of ass that he's getting, right? It could be either or. Who knows, right?
He's getting a lot. He's getting a lot of action for a dead guy, so props to him.
That's true, right? Which still, once again, super weird, but we'll roll with it. So, now that Spider and Sully are captured, obviously we want to get them back. So what do we decide to do? Well, we just have Natiri go in, right? So there's nobody else that shows up, right? Natiri just kind of enters this base, right? That has all these humans, right? This is like human headquarters, right? So she shows up, to help kind of like break in, right? And then there's also the help of like a rogue scientist, right? That kind of helps out too. Who's kind of like, I guess, like the good person, right? He's the, person that sticks up for the whales, right? He's the, marine biologist with a soul. With the help of him and Natiri, they're able to break out of this base, right? And I have to admit, this is one of those things that drive me insane in films like this. Is it makes no fucking sense how they're able to get out of there, right? Like, literally, you're in a human base, right? And they literally send one ship to go get them. I'm like, no offense, but these are like the two most important things on your plate. Like, how do you not have enough support to watch this shit, right? It just makes no sense. They just break in and they're able to break out with like 4 people, right? It is
it's funny. The bridge is like full of people, whereas everywhere else it's like empty.
Yeah, but like I said, they only have. It's like, okay, guys, we have these criminals out there. We have a huge science experiment in Spider that might revolutionize and let us live and breathe in this environment. We also have like the biggest, like, I guess, turncoat with Sully here, that we're gonna kill him, and it's gonna be televised, and everyone hates this dude.
And
so
Quaritch, and if you think about it, Quaritch, they're not too sure about anymore either.
That's true, right? That is true, right? So
it's definitely want to keep an eye on Quaritch as well, because you don't know which way he could turn after.
Yes, yeah, and honestly, he's kind of just a wild card of this whole thing, right? Because you just don't know what he's gonna do throughout, right? But yes, so the group is able to just magically escape this, this base, right, with just the few of them, and they're able to escape, right? And then this leads to me. This is the worst part of the film for me, right? So you got Spider, you have Sully, and you have Natiri, and they've broken out of this base, right? And they land, right? And Sully has this discussion that, what? Spider, right? He's always just going to be hunted. I think the best thing that we could do is kill him. Right? That was his discussion. He's just like, what? I don't see any other options. Clearly, murder's the best option, right? And so, like, they go through this whole sequence, right? Where Natiri, she's kind of like, are you sure about this? Like, even though she's hated Spider this whole time, right? She started to kind of come around, right? Because, Spider did, I guess, help Sully get out, right? Help Jake get out. So, sure. But, she's kind of like, what? He's still a human being. I still kind of hate them. So Sully, like, takes Spider out into the woods. Like, he's like an animal he's going to execute, right? He's like, he's bringing Lassie into the back room.
Yeah,
right?
it's old Yeller basically.
Yes, exactly, right. Thank you. Old Yeller was the dog I was looking for. Thank you. That was what I meant. So, so just like bringing him back there, and you know that Sully's not gonna actually kill him, right? Like everyone knows that. But Sully kind of like faints like he's gonna kill him, but then doesn't do it. And then Neytiri comes back like, no, my Jake, like don't kill him. Like he's a part of the family or something now, right? And I'm not gonna lie, right? My brain was just like, I was just slamming my head on my desk. Not literally, but figuratively, I was doing that. Because I'm like, Jake this whole time has done nothing but be like, family's important, this and that. We have to protect people. We have to do this. And then his resolution is just like, well, I guess the best way to protect him is to kill him. And I was just like, how is that the conclusion that you draw after all of this? Right? And what's sad is like, it kind of just happens once and then it's over, right? So Jake just kind of does like a full 180, wants to kill him, and then he's like, I can't do it. And then he goes back to being normal.
Well, I mean, if he was a really great dad, then all his kids would be in one spot. Like, I kind of get the feeling he doesn't even know where most of them are.
Too soon, right?
I mean, at any time he's got maybe one or two of those kids with him. We're like, where's the other half?
That's true, right? We do know that that one of them got killed in battle. So,
well, no, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like Kira just seems to like go off somewhere.
Oh, sure. No, I gotcha. Yeah, no, yeah. He look, he's not winning Father of the Year anytime soon. Right, I think we could all agree upon.
Well, no shit, because he's leading them right into a war zone. Like, what kind of dad does that?
Dude, the dude just like brings his challenger more. Okay, guys, let's go. Time to get busy killing. So, but yeah, so he, of course, right, doesn't kill Spider, even though they try to set it up like we're actually gonna believe that's gonna happen. But yeah, so when he decides not to kill Spider, now we have to get set up for the war, right? Now, the whole like last hour is really just this setup for this big fight that has to happen, because that's how it always has to happen, right? In the first one, there's a big war at the end. In the second one, there's a big war at the end. In the third one, guess what? There's going to be a big war at the end, right?
But did it have to take 2 hours to set up that 1 hour?
Yes, absolutely, Luca. We needed that hour. I had to see Quaritch changing sides and banging and Ash Navi. That was needed to create the story.
Well, I gotta say too, because what I found interesting, because obviously they're going for that whole native versus colonizer theme, right? That's been running from since the first movie.
Yes.
The first movie, like, it seemed like they were patterning like the Navi off of I guess the Sioux or the Cheyenne. When they were fighting the the U.S. government back in the 1800s. Way of Water, I guess they were still doing that thing, but by the time you get to this movie here, all of a sudden they start doing the whole Maori thing. So I'm like, are they still Cheyenne, or are they doing the Maori bit, or what's going on here? Because to your point from earlier, like, they all look the same with the exception of the skin tone being different, right? So obviously, like, they're patterning. I guess they're patterning each tribe off of, or each clan off of different, indigenous tribes, like the Maori or whatever. I mean, I kind of have to wonder, like, at some point, how do people just not roll their eyes and say, "Look, you're really, really getting oddly political here, James. Like, we just came here for an escapist fantasy, but you've been hammering this theme for over 3 movies now. Like, what? What's going on here?"
Yeah, yeah. Think about this, right? Because we have Sully, right? So he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna unite the clans," right? He's like Braveheart, right? You got to unite the people, right? And he gives these great speeches. He's like, "Yeah, my father, he gave these great speeches, right? You say freedom," and so the clan has to get together, right? Because, right, the penultimate, right, the ultimate thing in all this, right? So remember how, like, I don't know, I talked in the review, right? I mentioned whales, right? Well, here's the thing, right? So the humans, right, they want to attack this giant whale, I don't know, orgy that's going to happen, right? I don't really know what it was about, but there's going to be a giant whale gathering that's happening, right? Because the humans, right, they want to I don't know, get like some type of weird whale blood, right? That makes them live longer, right? So that's the purpose of the humans, right? So we had unobtainium at the beginning, right? And I think that maybe the whales were kind of a thing in the second one. But now the third one, right? We're really into the whale blood, right? That's kind of the big thing. So now they're like, hey, we want to get this whale blood, but we're gonna have to use the Na'vi, and they're gonna have to protect the whales, right? Because the whales, right? They don't like to fight people, right? They're pacifists, right? They're good, right? And I like how there's this like little meeting with the whales, and the whales, right, who have been hunted and killed, right? That they're all aware of, right? Because they were hunted and killed in the second one, right? They were hunted and killed in the third one, right? So now in this one, right, the third film, right, there's this like one whale that's like super disfigured, and it shows up. And it's like, hey, we gotta fight. And then the whales are like, maybe we should fight. And I'm like, well, what do you mean, right? Like, these whales, they've been dying all this time, right? Why does this one whale that shows up is like, oh, this is what throws me over the top, right? Not all the whales that we've already seen get killed that are dead in the water. Well, all of a sudden, this is what puts you over the top. And I'm just like, this whale species that's supposed to be super smart and everything, they seem kind of dumb, right? I don't know about you, but if these people were constantly killing my, whale pods, right, I'm pretty sure I would have a spine and attack back, right? I don't know if that's just the American in me, but I'm pretty sure if like you're just gonna murder my species, I'm gonna probably want to do something about it, right? I don't know about you, Luca. If you were a whale and people were hunting you, would you fight back, or would you just sit there and let your species get killed? Luca, tell me, as a whale, what would you do?
A bigger question is, why isn't every science fiction franchise aquatic aliens are pacifists? Because they did the same thing in Star Trek, where
I was about to say,
they did the same thing. They did the same thing in Star Trek, where there was like this alien species that resembles manatees, and they're like, yeah, we don't know if we want to go to war or not. We're gonna think about it. I mean, and yeah, your planet might get destroyed in the process, but we need to think really long and hard about whether or not we want to resort to violence.
Right. Like, there's never a time where it's like, oh, you know what? I can understand why they're on the fence, right? It's always something ridiculous. Like, hey, you know what? We're just going to get massacred and we're going to be okay with it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe, you can pat yourself on the back and be like, hey, I have this great moral compass. But guess what? Totally meaningless in the grand scheme of things.
Well, if you think about it, that's a running theme throughout the movie, because obviously Quaritch, he could have killed Varing at the very beginning, but he didn't. And then there was another instance where on the base where Natiri, came close to killing Varing, but she didn't. I'm like, bitch, like you should do the job right now, because she is gonna come back and give you a lot of shit tenfold.
Oh,
which we'll see later on. Yeah.
Don't worry, Luca. We will get there, right? Because as the whales have to decide whether or not they're going to fight back or just take it lying down, so to say. This is where the big war happens, right? And we have all the ships are coming in. They're going to attack the giant whale party that's going on. And luckily, right, we see the whales. They show up and they attack the humans, and we're like, yay, we're just clapping like a bunch of idiots, because it's like, oh, cool. I didn't see that coming, right? I definitely thought the whales were going to sit there and get massacred. So, the whales show up, and then the Na'vi join in, and then it's just like the humans are just getting their ass kicked, right? But then the Ash Tribe shows up. The Ash Tribe, which I swear I've only seen them have like maybe like half a dozen people, right? Like, they're not a huge clan, but now there's like hundreds of them. I don't know where they came from, because we've never seen them in large groups. There's always been like a dozen of them, so I don't know where they come from. And now it's like, oh no, the Ash Tribe's here. Now all the Na'vi are getting their asses kicked. So now the tables have turned, right? And we have like that one.
So do we know? So do we know why the Ash Tribe decides to attack? Because I get that, but it's like there really doesn't seem that much of an incentive, because what are they going to get besides fighting other Na'vi clan? Like, what's in it for them?
They're like the battle beasts of the Invincible universe, right? That's what they do, right?
Well, no, I mean, like as I'm watching, I'm like, these people are actually pretty stupid. They're like, because they're going on taking drugs and then dancing around a bonfire and then trying to figure out how to shoot a gun. I mean,
They are
they're
dumb.
complete, yeah, they're retarded. Yeah,
They're absolutely stupid, right? Because like there's like that whole like thing where I guess they've turned their backs on like Awa or something because like they have to live in the ash because Ava
they're atheists basically. Yeah, I get
yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, that's why they're evil. Man. They're atheists. So that's the way that atheism works. Sorry for all the atheists out there. The film says you're evil. So.
But I mean they're also pretty suicidal because remember like early when they attacked that convoy, Varying, I think she like one of the guys has like a package and Varying like shoots a fire arrow and it sets him on fire and he like dives straight into that jellyfish boat.
Yeah, it's very like Mad Max Fury Road, right?
Where exactly.
Like, got like little kamikaze guys going out there. So so the Ash tribe, right? They're attacking everyone, right? There's that one Navi chick that's been pregnant the whole time. She's on the battlefield, right? I mean, holy shit. I mean, props to her, right? I mean, talk about not having excuses for being out there, right? She's pregnant. She's out there kicking ass.
No, but I would say like out of all the people, she has a very good excuse for not being out there.
No, of course, yes. She does have a legitimate excuse. She's probably should have stayed back, right? Let's be real for a second. She probably should stay back, right? So she's one of the water Navis. So she gets shot, right, and then she like literally gives birth on the battlefield, right? So, but of course she unfortunately dies, right? So I guess that was too much for her, right? We see a few members of the Sully clan, right? They get captured just like the second one, probably the first one, I don't remember, but definitely the second one. So most of them are like captured again, right? And it looks like, oh no, like things are looking really bad, right? We're back kind of how the second one was going, where multiple ones of us are captured, and now we have to go like rescue them, right, from the Sully clan. And then we have like Kiri. She's like, oh wait a minute, right? I kind of could communicate with Awa, right? I'm kind of like, I don't know, the Jesus of the film, right? I'm just gonna communicate with my creator. And she like kind of shows up and she's like, Awa, like these people are bad and they're killing everything. I need you to fight. And Awa's like, okay, hold my beer. And there's all these like, I don't know, like squid things that are like, I don't know what to describe them as, but then, they start kicking ass, right? So now that Kiri has prayed to Awa, now they're all kicking ass, right? So the family, they all show up on the ship to save Neytiri and whatever the little one is, like Tuk Tuk or something, right? What's the little one's name? It's like Tuk.
Tuk. I don't know. Yeah.
Tuk. Come on, man. You have to remember all those family members, right? They're so critical to the story, right?
They have so many kids, I can't keep track of them.
Yeah, so Tuk, right? They gotta go save Neytiri and Tuk, and so they show up there, right? There's once again this fight, right? You have the Ash. You have the Ash chick. What was the what's her face's name again? Varang, right? So they like fight Varang, and they like kind of like beat her up, and then they just let her escape. And I was like, oh Jesus Christ, she's gonna show up in the fourth film, right? Like that's gonna happen, right? She's gonna show up again because one thing this film can't do is get rid of any of the villains because they have to show up later, right? And with that being said, right. The big kind of fight that happens, right, is between Jake and Quaritch, and they're fighting, all this stuff, right? And then there's an instance where Spider, right, he's kind of a part of this Jake and Quaritch quarrel. Try to say that 5 times fast. And Spider gets like knocked down, and he's like falling off the cliff, and who saves him? Quaritch. Quaritch saves him, and I was just like, oh, sure, why not? Whatever. Sure. He saves his son, whatever, even though the son hates him and he's been kind of a dick this whole time and literally has put him in danger by having the Ash tribe attack everything. But sure, whatever. He goes out and he saves his son, right? So he saves his son from falling off the cliff. And then Sully kind of like helps save both Quaritch and pulls up both Quaritch and whatever, and I'm like, okay, cool, like that's how it's gonna end. And then what happens? Quaritch kills himself, right? He kind of like jumps off the cliff or jumps off the rock. And I don't know. Do you think Quaritch is dead? Do you think he's really dead? Because they definitely imply that he dies, right?
I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be dead. I just know.
Oh, I know that.
I mean, that vortex that they're in is supposed to, eat up ships. But I guess if you're organic, you're fine.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's the over under for you? 50. Is it more likely he's dead or alive? Quaritch, what do you think? Dead or alive?
I think he's alive.
Exactly right.
I think he and Varing, they meet up and then they go into the jungle and have space sex.
Why not? Sure, why not? I mean, hey,
yeah, I mean, go full native, basically.
Exactly right. I mean, he's practically there anyways, right? So so he does this right, and he like is like sacrifices himself, and I put that in air quotes because we know that's gonna happen. And he's gonna be alive in the fourth one, and that's how it ends, right? That's the end of Avatar 3. Everyone's happy. None of the main characters died this time, I think, that I can remember. I guess some like secondary characters kind of got killed, but none of the big ones got murdered, right? And that's Avatar 3, right? So, I don't even know what to say as I went through this. It was so hard for me to even like write something for it because like the whole time I'm thinking if you're going to this, you're not going for the story, right? You're really just going for all the crazy visuals, which still look really, really good, right? It still absolutely has top-notch visuals, right? And that's that, right? Because nothing else really matters, right? It's just all a whole bunch of nothing. It's all a bunch of filler, right? It's like you're trying to put your story in there around a bunch of action sequences to try to say there's a story. But none of it makes sense, right? You got, like, Sully's off doing his own thing. He's trying to protect everyone, but then he also is willing to kill Spider to protect him. So that was really weird, right? Natiri, she's, like, been a racist this whole time, right? She doesn't like the pink skins, as she says, even though she literally is married to one. But, because of, her whole thing with Quaritch, it kind of, like, cascades down to poor Spider and everything, right? There's this, like, kind of weird thing where Sully and the son are kind of, like, at odds with each other because, Sully kind of maybe blames him for the oldest son's death in the second one. So I was like, oh, cool. That's a really nice father thing that you got going on. You have Kiri, right, who's like, I guess, a god, right? I don't really know. They definitely don't explain everything, but she's like able to connect with Awa. And like, I don't know, I think that she just has this relationship with God, which, hey, whatever, we'll just roll with that. And that's really it. There's just a whole bunch of like random story elements, and that's not even dealing with Quaritch, who is like all over the spectrum and seems to forget from scene to scene what he wants to do, right? He's either a crazy bad guy that's out there, or he's out there just to like, bang ash people, or he wants to like his son, or he doesn't like his son, or he wants to save him. Who knows, right? I'm going to say right now, I bet in the fourth one, right, Quaritch is going to be kind of on the sidelines, and he's going to come in, and he's going to be like, you know what? I'm a good guy now, and I'm going to save the day, and I'm going to actually die in the fourth one, right? I'm going to call it right now, right? I don't know if that'll be the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, however long that they go on. Quaritch is alive. He'll be a good guy, and he will absolutely die in one of these in the future. Being a good guy.
So in the fourth movie, what are the humans going to go after next? Because they went after a mineral and then whales. What's the next big thing they got to go after?
They're going to go back to the minerals, right? Because they've had the whales for too long. They're going to go back to unobtainium, right? That is the thing that they're going to do. There's also going to obviously be another tribe, right? So we have like water. There's been fire and ash. I guess there has to be like a wind tribe, right? So
yeah.
I've seen Avatar before, The Last Airbender, not to be confused with this one. So, there's probably gonna be some wind tribe that they're gonna do next, and yeah,
I mean, hey, they probably might be a bunch of fat, fat Navi who literally break wind. Like that's why they're the wind tribe.
There we go. That's exactly what Luca. This is the type of big brains we need in Hollywood now, right? I want you to go up there, tell James Cameron, hey, I got a good idea, right? We're tired of all these like, Navi that look the same. We want some fat, chunky Navi that.
So you don't want So you don't want supermodel Navi, you want, fat Navi. Is that
Yeah,
it?
exactly, right? We need some diversity, right? I want to see these Navi. I actually want to be able to tell them apart from one Navi to the other, right? I'm tired.
So hold on. So you have no so it's not so you have no problem with, a blue Navi so long as he's, so fat he can't see his own genitals, right?
I mean, I don't care as long as he's different, right? Make him like bright red, right? Like, give me something, right? Give me something that doesn't make them all look like pretty much the exact same, right? It doesn't have to be their body size. Just give me something that's radically different, right? I want to see something that's unique, right?
Well, maybe they should have some who are bearded, because I mean they're all clean shaven.
There we go, right? Perfect, right? They can just be like Viltrumites and they all have mustaches, right? Perfect, right? That's what we need, right? Give me some facial hair Navi, right? I don't care. Give me something other than slightly different hues of blue that make them look different, right? That's all I'm asking for. I don't think I'm asking for much, right? But that's really it, right? So, I mean, if I had to give this a score, I think I would give it like at least maybe a 2, just because the visuals are so good. No, what? That's too good for it. Let me back up here for a second. I'm sorry. I kind of went a little bit over the top here. I'm gonna give it like a 1.5 because, as I constantly have to be reminded, the story is so nonsensical. It doesn't want to do anything, but visuals are super good. And I at least have to give it credit for something. It absolutely still looks really, really good. Even if, like you said at the beginning, right, as we've kind of advanced in the years, the difference it is between other good-looking films is getting smaller and smaller, right? When the first one came out, it absolutely blew everything else away. Nowadays, I feel like we've kind of come to see a similar looking style for this stuff, so that gap is becoming smaller and smaller. So
I mean, especially with AI, you can pretty much achieve nearly the same quality for less than the amount of money James Cameron was spending on this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that's a lot. Budget was almost 400 million. So yeah, that's a lot to be spending on a film.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a 1 out of 5. I mean, this movie has no reason to be that long. I mean,
oh no.
I mean, for a movie that's so convoluted, like such as this, I mean, I lost track midway of what was going on, and the only time I knew what the plot was when the humans came in their ridiculous crab ships. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're fighting the humans basically, but I really don't see what this movie adds to the Avatar lore that the first movie or even the second movie is added on.
Nothing.
I mean, now unless there's like a fire island that apparently nobody's ever seen, I'm not interested in what's going on. Although I will say, because as I was watching this movie, like I kept thinking to myself, is James Cameron leaning into the whole Titanic, memory lane kind of thing? Because obviously you've got Kate Winslet playing the pregnant,
yes,
chieftain's wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
so that's one down there. Plus, you have a lot of shots of people getting drowned, like a lot of shots of people getting drowned.
Yeah, that's true.
And then finally, when Kiri and Spider go into the afterlife, I'm like, holy shit, this is very much like the staircase at the end of Titanic. Like,
oh my god,
like they go in and they're like, they see all their dead relatives and friends, and they're like hugging.
That is right. Though honestly, what would have been crazy was like, imagine like a lot of like, those like squid things were happening. Imagine the Titanic. There actually was a giant monster that we didn't see. That would have made the Titanic that much more interesting.
I mean, to be fair, like in a way, Spider also did say, I'll never let go, and he like, because you remember Titanic, Rose says if you jump, or Jack says to Rose, I'll jump if you jump. It's kind of the same thing where Kiri goes in the water and Spider's like, all right, I gotta go after you, and he jumps right after her. And they swim to wherever I guess the magic glowing jellyfish worms are. Mm-hmm. So even then, like, I have to think at some point James Cameron was thinking, I wonder if people are gonna remember this, because I totally directed Titanic and that was a huge thing nearly 30 years ago. So let's see if people can dig into this and chew on something from 1997. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, dude, like if this is really what you're doing, this is pathetic. Like, goddamn, dude, like you should not be leading into Titanic at this point, man. Like the
Oh,
the only other way that would have made it even weirder was that Leonardo DiCaprio was playing like a member of the Fire Tribe or whatever.
yeah, that's what we need a little bit more of that, right? We need some Leo in this film to help out because everyone else
Yeah,
is giving us like the B material. So
I mean, I mean, listen, like had this movie come out like in in 2012 or even 2017, I still would have been impressed by it, right? Because
yeah,
at that point it still would have been not new, but it still would have been innovative, right?
hundred
Whereas
percent.
now, now in 2026, going in 2027, we're at that point where technology has gotten to the point where it's this kind of the level of animation is available to everybody. you know if a guy like me can generate this on on my computer at home and then put it on YouTube, what's the incentive to go and see a movie that anybody could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because because at that time the reason why you would pay that much money is you're paying you're paying for the skill and the talent of the people who know how to use it, but you're also paying for the software and the platform in which to generate these images, which I've seen the price tag on them. They'll make your eyes water, and not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have to wonder, what's the incentive for James Cameron to keep making these movies? Because all of the goodwill that he fostered when he made the first movie, and I'll even include the second movie into the mix, it's gone at this point because people have moved on. I'm thinking,
Well, I mean,
I'm thinking James Cameron, he keeps doing this because obviously one's the money, but two, he also
yes,
wants to keep reminding us, hey, you remember I made Avatar way back in the day? It's still around, it's still relevant. I still want you to care about it. And people are like, well, not really, James. There's this show called The Pit that everybody's into right now. We're gonna check that out instead. We're not interested in space Smurfs at this point.
yes, no, I agree. But like you pointed out, right, it's all about the money, right? Because I don't think anyone's going here for like some amazing story and everything, but why it'll get its fourth and fifth iterations, right? Which we know there's gonna be more, right? They've already talked about it. And the box office I think was something close to like almost 1.5 billion. So on a budget of about 400 million, you're making about $1 billion on these films. There's pretty much an almost 100% likelihood, right? We'll be seeing another.
Yeah, I mean, and the question I have is, what is what is it about the next movie that is going to make people sit up and say I have to go see it, right? Because when we did the trailer reaction for for Fire and Ash, I mean, we both agreed, yeah, it's nice, but it's not enough for us to go pay $20 to go see it in theaters when we can just wait.
Yeah,
if we're so inclined for it to come on streaming and then go see it.
Yeah. But hey, I hate to tell you this, Luca. I think we're probably, unfortunately, the minority with that because plenty of people are flocking to the theaters to go check this out.
Well, I mean, I guess that's more for James Cameron.
Yeah.
He's flocking his way to the bank. But Lee, why don't you go ahead and take us out on that?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate everyone for listening to us rattle on about Avatar: Fire and Ash. Hey, I mean, this is a visually impressive thing. I would love to hear people in the comments say how much you enjoyed or not enjoy it, right? Do you agree with us that, hey, this is a visual marvel, but maybe it's the story is really weak and there's something else out there? Or, hey, I mean, do you really, have you really grown attached to Sully and his family, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything, when you look at it, I mean, it's, got family connection there. I think there's a lot that's going on. So let us know in the comments if you like it. And honestly, I would love to know too, projections. What happens in the fourth one, right? Are we going to get air Na'vi? Are we going to get fat Na'vi? Are we going to get miniature Na'vi? Tell me what the next group of Na'vi that comes out. Because the fourth one, there will be a new one, right? There was one, we saw one in the first one, the second one, the third one. The fourth one, I'm expecting more of the same. So let us know what's going to happen next.